Before we begin the proceedings, we would like to acknowledge and pay respect to the traditional owners of the land on which we meet, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. It is upon their ancestral lands that the University of Technology, Sydney is built.
When the first fleet arrived on January 26, 1788, Britain took formal possession of Australia. The fleet, led by Captain James Cook, took control of Australia without consent and without negotiating with the indigenous people. The British declared that the continent was terra nullius, meaning the land belonged to no one. Of course, this was not true.
When the first European colonists arrived in 1788, there were already around 500 different Aboriginal regional groups with a total indigenous population estimated between 300,000 and 1 million.
Land is central to indigenous societies, cultures, and religions. For Aboriginal Australians, the land is the core of all spirituality, identity, and purpose. This relationship is central to all issues that are important to Aboriginal people today. Aboriginal people are part of this land and always will be.
To a non-Indigenous person, land may be seen as something to be owned or used, such as a commodity or an asset. However, in the Aboriginal culture, land is the core to all meanings of life. Land is the people, and the people are the land. The maintenance and well-being of the land is essential, for it is their way of knowing to take care of the land. Land is also an inspiration to Aboriginal art, whether it is through dance, theater, music, or painting. An Aboriginal artist quotes, "The land is my backbone. I only stand straight, happy, proud, and not ashamed about my color because I still have land. I think of land as the history of my nation." This importance of the connection to land gives the Aboriginal people a sense of belonging and provides them in their ways of knowing. On August 26, 1966, the Gurindji people walked off Wave Hill and Newcastle Water's cattle station. This began a 7-year struggle to obtain title to their land. This was the first Aboriginal strike to attract wide public support within Australia for land rights. As a result of the attention and support the Gurindji strike received, it is seen as the birth of the land rights movement.
The Aboriginal Land Rights Act of the Northern Territory in 1976 was the first act where Aboriginals could claim rights to their land if they were able to prove association to the land. This act establishes land trusts, land councils, Aboriginal land commissions in the Northern Territory, and provided for the leasing of Aboriginal lands as national parks. It also provides for Indigenous people to make claims on reserve and vacant Crown lands to which traditional attachment can be proven.
The Kenby land claim was first lodged in March of 1979 by the Larrakai people. The Kenby claim is the oldest outstanding claim under the Aboriginal Land Rights Act of 1976. While the claim was won in 2000, it was not officially settled until 2009. The claim involved 65,000 hectares of land on the Cox Peninsula. 13,000 hectares of this land was designated for home and industry, while the remaining 52,000 hectares was designated Aboriginal land for the Larrakai people.
The Aboriginal Land Rights Act of New South Wales, passed in 1983, established a 3-tiered system of Aboriginal land councils at the state, regional, and local levels.
During the 1980s, state and Commonwealth governments drew back from pursuing more legislation or granting land rights because of the lack of popular support in many areas of the country. In 1992, change arose when Indigenous Torres Strait Islander Eddie Mabo led a group of Marian people in a Supreme Court challenge against the Queensland government on the issue of land ownership. On June 3, 1992, 6 of the 7 High Court judges ruled the Marian people are entitled as against the whole world to possession, occupation, use, and enjoyment of the lands of the Murray Islands. The judgment was so historic because it completely overturned the idea of terra nullius and said that native titles survived in many places, even though the land had been taken by the Crown. The Mabo decision opened the door for other indigenous groups to be able to claim ownership of land that they could prove a continuous connection with.
Even with the advancements already made by the Aboriginal land rights movement, there are still obstacles to overcome. One such current obstacle facing supporters of Aboriginal land rights is in South Australia. At the center of the debate is an ongoing federal court matter involving the traditional landowners, the Yandrawanda Yawarwarka people, versus the state government and a number of oil and gas companies in the Cooper Basin. The key legal question is whether or not petroleum and gas companies in the Cooper Basin should be required to negotiate access and heritage matters with traditional owners. Native title expert and anthropologist Bob Ellis said that the government's move was outrageous and that, quote, the government has effectively put petrol and gas explorers in a primary position over the rights of Aboriginal people.